Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Archer. I'm a reservoir engineering advisor based in Houston. I have a strong background in production engineering and in particular reservoir simulation. Today's UPitch is an introduction to the company Ridgeway Kite and their reservoir simulator 6X. 6X is very unique. It combines geomechanics, hydraulic fracturing and flow simulation dynamically in one fully integrated model. We're going to focus today on unconventional reservoir modeling for hydraulically fractured wells. Constructing a model is a step-by-step process, and one must work with an integrated team. The 3D model construction captures the geology, the structure, the stratigraphy, plus the petrophysics. The model is then initialized with the rock and fluid properties, the horizontal and vertical stresses, and the initial reservoir pressures. 6X is a fully featured simulation model. It'll model the pump and the fluid schedule. It'll capture the hydraulic fracture growth, poroelastic changes, and the fracture conductivity changes, including closure effects. The proppant transport model has a tracer capability. You can track the respective proppants and fluids from each stage through the pump job. You can calibrate the model to observe data for history matching, well performance. 6X uses a dual porosity approach. One set of cells are used to model the matrix, and a second set are used to model the natural and hydraulic fractures. So in essence, it's designed from a very practical standpoint with the goal of getting reasonable run times for what can be very large models. Here's a two-well model looking at the change in net stress with time. The pump and fluid schedules modeled for each stage. As we know, when a stage is pumped, the pressure increases, the rock fails, and the hydraulic fractures are created. The proppant transport model tracks the proppant distribution against leak-off. This is repeated for each stage, and wells can be zippered. Once the well is completed, it's flowed back and the model can be calibrated against observed data, such as a defit or a well bottom hole pressures. The functionality in 6X enables the team to evaluate well designs, from cluster and stage spacing to frac intensity, through well spacing and well timing. For drill spacing units, the cell size is important. In this model, it's 10 feet by 50 feet aerially and 4 feet vertically. The multi-well DSU models are large. One beauty of 6X is its management of large problems. A combination of its parallel architecture and automatic coarsening delivers balanced run times for large complicated problems. A key differentiator for 6X is the geomechanics model. This image shows the prop tensile fractures on the left and the unpropped shear fractures on the right for a well. The change in net mean stress is calculated at every time step, along with the reservoir pressure and saturations. The propped and unpropped fractures have different fracture conductivity functions, and 6X models the reduction in conductivity as the fractures close. Here we have two single well comparison cases. We're again looking at the change in net stress in the fracture. On the left, we have a constrained pay zone case. The low stress pay zone is bordered above and below by the higher stress subzones, or stress barriers. On the right, an unconstrained pay zone case. The subzones above and below the pay zone are on the same stress gradient, and there is no barrier. In the constrained case on the left, the fracture stops growing at the stress barriers, and in the unconstrained case on the right, the fracture has continued to gain height above and below the net pay zone. Now moving forward, let's look at a parent-child case for well interference. We have a gun barrel view and we're again showing the change in net stress in the fracture. Initially, the parent well is fractured. The net stress increases. Once the fracture is completed, the parent well is flowed back and produced, and the net stress decreases as the pressure is drawn down. the colors go from warm to cold. When the child well is fractured, the child well net stress increases on the right. As the fracture length increases, the child fracture connects with the fracture from the parent well at the base of the pay zone. Finally, both wells are produced and the net stresses decrease, and again the colors go from warm to cold. Now let's look at the same case from the standpoint of water saturation changes in the fracture. This is the same slice and we're looking at the same sequence to see what happens with the slick water. Again, initially the parent well is fractured. The increase in water saturation reflects the slick water being pumped. Once the parent well is flowed back and produced, the water saturation decreases as the slick water is produced back. Oil is flowing from the matrix into the fractures, changing the saturation. When the child well is fractured, the child well water saturation increases, reflecting the slick water being pumped. As the fracture length increases, the child fracture connects with the fracture from the parent well at the base of the pay zone. Now you see the impact of the fracture interference, and the slick water flows into and fills the parent well fractures. Finally, both wells are produced and the slick water is drained from both fractures as the oil fills and flows in from the matrix. So a little about the team that kicked this off. Tommy Miller was with the Eclipse team at Schlumberger from 1987 to 2013. He's both the co-founder and the CEO of Ridgeway Kite. Garth Bowen on the left was with the Eclipse team from 1987 to 2013 as well. He's also a co-founder and he directs the 6X technical development. On the right is Chet Osgun. He's the founder and CEO of URTeC, a reservoir engineering consulting firm based in Denver that heavily uses 6X. He's a Ridgeway Kite co-founder and director. Development team members not pictured include Gareth Shaw, a linear solver specialist, and Ian Pallister, an algorithm specialist. In Houston, Bill Baxi manages the North American sales and Peter Forster manages support. To summarize, 6X is an unconventional simulator written with a parallel architecture and automatic coarsening that gives you the ability to run large multi-well DSU models in a practical time frame. We would love to meet with you to introduce you to our capabilities via Zoom or in person. Please reach out to us by email if you'd like to schedule a meeting or a lunch and learn, real or virtual. To learn more, please visit the ridgewaykite.com website, which has more details of the 6X functionality and solutions. Many thanks for your time today.